this athlete could have had a chance to be the best outfielder in baseball, but for reasons on the field or off the field, it never played out. He was a hero in Montreal, an all-star for the National League, part of the possibly the best outfield trio of the late 1970s. Ellis Valentine, even you saying that word, those words, people shake their head and said, he could have had it all and he lost it all. Now today we're going to be talking about some of the history of Ellis Valentine. It's a request from a good follower of the channel, Andrew Lippert. Andrew, thanks so much. Now, Ellis, born Ellis Clarence Valentine, July 30th, 1954, in Helena, Arkansas. He was remembered mostly for having one of the all-time great throwing arms. There's a plateau where you can't throw the ball any harder and you can't be any more accurate. That was Ellis Valentine, quoted by former Montreal manager Philippe Alou. Now, he played football and baseball at Crenshaw High School in LA, and he was the first pro athlete ever signed out of Crenshaw when the Expos selected him in the second round of the 72 MLB draft. He was quickly recognized as one of the top prospects in the Expos farm system. He batted .289 with 27 home runs and 109 RBIs over 4 different levels in 4 seasons to earn a September call-up to Montreal the end of the 75 season. In his first major league at bat, he had his first major league homer off the Pittsburgh Pirates' Jim Brooker. He remained in the Expos lineup semi-regularly during the end of the season with a 3.64 average. Now, Carter, who was an all-star and finished second in National League Rookie of the Year, balloting as a right fielder for the Expos in 75, was shifted back to his natural position behind the plate for the 76 season to make room for Valentine in the right field. And of course, it changed Gary's career from the outset. When he went behind the bench, he had basically a better use of his skills. Now, after batting just .238 with 2 home runs and 6 RBIs through the middle of May, Ellis was shipped back to AAA Denver for seasoning. He rejoined the Expos in July and batted .285 with 5 home runs and 33 RBIs the rest of the way. But he had home run power, very strong in the outfield, a good team player, and he was a good gel. Now, when the Expos moved to Olympic Stadium, that's where the Cromartie-Dawson Valentine legend began. Now, on April 15, 1977, he hit the first ever home run at Olympic Stadium. He also hit 2 inside the park home runs for home crowd during the Expos' inaugural season in the new stadium. Now, joining in Montreal's outfield for 77 would be 22-year-old center fielder Andre Dawson and 23-year-old left fielder Warren Cromartie. Their youth, speed, and charisma, as well as power, soon made him the talk of the baseball world. Valentine was the first to emerge as a star, as he was the Expos' sole representative of the 77 Major League Baseball All-Star game at Yankee Stadium, which led to a cameo appearance during a Gary Berghoff Dream in a Fantasy Island episode. It made him kind of a international, if you want to say outfielder, he said Ellis Valentine at the time. Now, already recognized for his exceptional arm by this point in his career, he engaged in a throwing contest before the All-Star game with the Pirates' Dave Parker, LA's Reggie Smith, and San Diego's Dave Winfield, who was also recognized as having the finest throwing arms in the NL. For the season, he had hit a strong .293, finished second to Carter with 25 home runs and 76 RBIs. Now, Cromartie, and Dawson turned it up a notch in 78. He led the major leagues with 25 assists from the outfield and received a Gold Glove as one of the NL's top 3 defensive outfielders. Meanwhile, Cromartie and Dawson also led their respective positions in outfield assists to give the Expos the unquestionable top defensive outfield in the major league. With their bats, Valentine and Dawson tied for the team lead with 25 homers apiece. Valentine had a team-leading 76 RBIs, while Dawson scored 84 runs and Cromartie led the team with .297 average. Now, the Expos were in a pennant race for the entire 79 season. However, the campaign got off to a bumpy start for Ellis. He was 1 for 3 with an RBI in the Expos matchup with the Cubs at Wrigley Field on April 21st, but that only brought his batting average up to an even 200, and his RBI tied a total of 4. In the 8th inning with 2 outs and a runner on second, Valentine drew a walk, bringing future Hall of Famer Tony Perez to the plate. When now Bruce Sutter induced a ground ball to short, Cubs shortstop Ivan DeJesus flipped the ball to second baseman Ted Sizemore to force Valentine to second and then to threat. Now Valentine disagreed with the call and tossed his batting helmet in the short right field in frustration. Believing that the helmet was lost to him, second base umpire Steve Fields ejected Valentine from the game. Outraged, Valentine charged the umpire and bumped him. Valentine received a 3-game suspension and a $500 fine for his actions. And this was a sign that something was not exactly perfect in Valentine's mindset. Now, although the controversy seemed to do him good, he started hitting right after the incident occurred. He hit a pinch hit 3-run home run to carry the Expos to a 7-5 win over San Francisco in his first game back, and went 12 for 33 with 10 RBIs in his first 10 games back from the suspension. In the first game of a May 27 doubleheader with the Cardinals, he drove in 6 runs to carry the Expos to an 8-3 victory. In the second game, he drove in a 7-run to establish club record for RBIs in the doubleheader. The next day, he drove in 4 runs against the Phillies, and the Expos won a franchise best 95 games of 79 to finish 2 games back in the Pirates. Now, they did have a chance to either tie Pittsburgh or extend the season in the last series, but of course, Dave Parker and his teammates established dominance in that series, and Montreal had to wait. For his part, Valentine had another consistent season, 21 homers, 82 RBIs, 276 average. Now, a lot of people disbelieve was a changing point in Ellis' life. On May 30th, 1980, Valentine was hit in the face by a pitch of Roy Thomas of the Cardinals. His cheekbone cracked in 6 places and was forced to miss over a month of action. At the time of the incident, he was leading the team with 27 RBIs and was batting just under 300. While slugging third baseman Larry Parrish also entered the lineup with a wrist injury, the Expos did surprisingly well in Valentine's absence. They won 21-16 to take a half-game lead to the NL East over the Phillies. Now, when Valentine finally returned on July 10th, he began wearing a part of a football face mask on his helmet. Though it looked strange, it briefly caught on with the other players who were worried about similar injuries. Now, if you see a lot of Topps and OPG cards of the era reflect that very unique look. Now, that season he batted .331 with 9 home runs and 39 RBIs over the rest of the year, as the Expos found themselves in a 3-way race for the Pirates and Phillies in the NL East. Now, Valentine played hurt through much of his season's stretch drive toward the pennant, but was sidelined for much of it with a pinched nerve, a hip injury, and a hand injury. On September 21st, Valentine injured his wrist, ending his season. The Expos unfortunately surrendered first place in the division to the Phillies on the second-to-last day of the season on a home run by Mike Schmidt. Now, in 81, he got off to a slow start. He was only batting .211 with 3 homers and 15 RBIs when he was sidelined by the pulled hamstring in his left leg on May 19th. He was still on the disabled list when the Expos dealt him to the Mets for Jeff Reardon, Dan Norman, and a player to be named later. Now, Valentine's first season at Shea did not go as planned. It did, however, have an interesting side effect on the Mets lineup. Dave Kingman, who battled for bad fourth in the Mets lineup, began seeing better pitchers with Valentine behind him. Over the first 16 games in which Kingman and Valentine battled 4th and 5th in the lineup, Kingman clubbed 7 home runs with 16 RBIs. Valentine, meanwhile, batted just .176 over that stretch with 1 homer and 7 RBIs. Almost as if National League's pitchers realized they had nothing to fear from Valentine's bat, Kingman began seeing tougher pitching again and hit just 3 more home runs over the rest of the season. Now, when new manager George Bamberger and George Foster added to their lineup for 82, the Mets went to spring training with high hopes. As things turned out, the Mets narrowly avoided losing 100 games and finished last. Valentine won 31 games to start the season without driving in a single run. From there, Valentine put up respectable numbers, 7 homers and 33 RBIs, though the Mets' 6-4 victory over the Cubs on October 13th. After which, Valentine called the New York Mets the worst organization in baseball to New York reporters. As one might imagine, this charge did not sit well with Mets management. Bamberger and Mets GM Frank Cashin met with Valentine on August 15th and offered to trade the disgruntled outfielder. They were unable to find a taker, despite the impressive .327 batting average Valentine put up over the rest of the season. Now, the big problem with Valentine, allegedly, he was also involved in certain nefarious off-field activities. I don't want to really get into here, but there was always rumors that he wasn't taking care of himself physically and spiritually. Some allegations of drug usage as well, or hard partying. Again, now, Valentine was selected by just one team, the Pittsburgh Pirates, in the MLB Ranger draft when he became a free agent at the end of the season. When the California Angels' Bobby Clark suffered a back injury playing winter ball in Venezuela, it opened up a vacancy in the Angels' outfield. Valentine eventually signed with his own team on January 21st, 1983. After straining his Achilles tendon during spring training, he failed to make it onto the field for his new club until their 25th game. He appeared in 86 contests for the Angels. In 83, batting .240 with 13 homers and 43 RBIs. At the end of the season, he signed a multi-year deal with the Angels. However, a bruised heel kept him off the field for the entire 84 campaign. He logged just 4 plate appearances on a rehab assignment with the Edmonton Trappers and was released at the end of the season. Now, the Texas Rangers, who were in last place in the AL West and in dire need of offense, signed Valentine to a minor league pack on July 6, 1985. He played well, batting .314 with 10 homers and 33 RBIs in 46 games for the AAA Oklahoma City 89ers, but it did not translate to Major League success when he joined the Rangers in September. He was not offered a contract for 86, but received an invitation to spring training that he declined, retiring instead. Now, again, talking about that Fantasy Island episode, alongside Steve Garvey, George Brett, Ken Brett, Tom Lasorda, and Fred Lynn, he appeared in the Superstar Salem episode of Fantasy Island during the team's first season, their series' first season, which was aired March 25th, 1978. Gary Berghoff in it plays an accountant with a fantasy of being a Major League Baseball pitcher, and Valentine is one of his strikeout victims. Now, after retiring from baseball, Valentine took a job with Avis Rent-A-Car, earning allegedly $4.25 per hour. His first baseball-related job since retirement. Valentine managed Antelope Valley in the short-lived Golden State League in '95. His tenure with the financially doomed league lasted just a week into the season. Now, Valentine fought the drug and alcohol addiction throughout his career. In September '86, a year after retiring, he moved from Southern California and immediately entered drug rehab in Phoenix. After cleaning up, he took a position as a drug counselor with St. Luke's Hospital and began helping others overcome similar issues. He holds certificates in behavioral health and chemical dependency counseling. Now, Valentine currently lives in the Dallas region, where he works as a counselor at a local church and is members of the Rangers Alumni Association. He is the co-founder and president of Pass Pros, a web-based service that allows sports fans to purchase memorabilia directly from retired athletes. Also, in 2014, Valentine founded Raft Recovery Incorporated, a 501 nonprofit that coaches individuals struggling with addictive behaviors. His charitable work does not stop there, as the program also provides a lawn service for disabled seniors in the Dallas area and surrounding communities. Now, Ellis has turned his life around. We all know this, but what could have been? I give you stats. Only played 900 games, batted .278 with 120 homers, 23 homers, 404 RBIs, 59 stolen bases. But he could do it all, ladies and gentlemen. He had speed, he had skill, he had accuracy, a good teammate. The only harm he used to do was to himself. If all the rumors are true, he had habits that were a hard habit to break. But in Montreal, from 1975 to the time he left Montreal, he was the king of Montreal. We loved him all across Canada, him and Cromartie and Dawson. If he would have stayed, but the injuries played a big factor. But if you talk to certain baseball writers, they demanded a little bit too much of him. I think the most Valentine you could hope for was 25 RBIs, 25 homers and 80 RBIs a season, 275. your typical number 6 hitter. But there were some members of the media wanted much more than Ellis was, not say prepared to give, but could give. I was totally amazed the solidity of this player when he was on his game, and he helped rebuild baseball in Montreal, because Montreal was struggling in Major League Baseball for years, and he was the pillar, him and Gary Carter, and then Dawson later on. But Ellis Valentine really is the first Montreal Expo, homegrown superstar that was larger than the game. When people said, what do you want to see in an outfielder? You see, well, look at Ellis Valentine. If you're going to be a coach in the late 70s, early 80s, you wanted a player like Ellis Valentine. And I think they gave him every chance possible in Montreal. But what he was doing off the field caused him to break down. But if he would have played a consistent injury-free season, he could have had that 100 RBIs, could have hit 300, could have hit 30 homers. But he was just this close to being a superstar. You could almost touch it. And the only thing I can compare it with, ladies and gentlemen, Dave Winfield and Dave Parker. He was in that same category. Hit for power, hit for average, steal a base, and occasionally, again, great in the outfield. Can you imagine, ladies and gentlemen, an outfield with Dave Winfield, Dave Parker, and Ellis Valentine? It boggles the mind. And Montreal Expos fans with Cromartie and Dawson, that was a sense of pride for us as Montreal fans. The greatest outfield in pro baseball at the time. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, we ran that bitch for what it's worth. Anytime anybody was a fan of the Expos, why are you a fan of the Expos? Cromartie, it was like a mantra. Cromartie, Dawson, Valentine. CDV. Anyway, Andrew, thanks a lot for the requests. It's sorry I've been off the channel last few days, ladies and gentlemen. The laryngitis has been pretty heavy. Doing better. Andrew made a series of requests on former Montreal Expos. We're going to touch upon that. We're still going to do Ron LaFleur. We're going to still do Tim Wallach, two of the most underrated players of their generation. But if you're an Ellis Valentine fan, let me know what you think. Well, especially with the Mets fans that think about Valentine. Why do you think he failed in New York? I really don't know, because, like I said, he had talent to burn. Thanks for listening. Have a great new year. Bye.